Exactly.
Hello, Marilyn. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad. So you guys were listening in on City Council, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Always fun.
No, it has to be exciting.
Yeah. Seems like we got a lot of issues going on, so it's always kind of want to hear what's getting said at those meetings.
Well, that's part of being a responsible citizen.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't really
So,
gripe about your community if you don't know what's going on in it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm sure Leanne will join in quickly here.
Yeah. I know that was always a big problem where I moved from. Everybody complained about the city and what was going on in the county, but they really didn't know how the workings of it were going. So they complained for the sake of complaining.
Yeah.
And there was
Did Where were you from?
Southern Ohio.
Okay. Yeah, I could see a little bit of an accent, but I couldn't tell where from. Sounded
Yeah.
Midwest something.
I've heard everything from Alabama to Southern Texas, so nothing surprises me anymore.
And what brought you to Colorado?
My wife and I vacationed here about 10 or 11 years ago, and it's one of those things where as soon as we seen the mountains, we said, "Yeah, that looks good. We want to stay here."
Yeah.
So last year I don't know, the area was getting pretty bad. So there was a bad drug problem that wasn't getting any better. The economy was awful in that area. We wanted something better for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
So in July of last year, we decided, you know what, let's sell our house. We had a yard sale, and I picked up a piece of sidewalk chalk and wrote "house for sale" on the garage door.
Yeah.
And the first couple that came and looked at it bought it.
Wow.
Yep. So that was July. By the end of August, I had our whole house packed up, and I had already moved.
Wow.
Yep. So it happened just like that.
I think a lot of things in life happen where it's not necessarily what you thought or how it was going to come down, but it's somehow destined, It's just like the right time, the right place. Just go
Whenever
for it.
whenever everything falls into place like that, you really can't fight it.
Mhm.
It happened.
Exactly.
So we've been here a year. We just moved. Well, actually, we moved to Longmont first.
Okay.
We rented for a little while, and then my wife found a job in Loveland, and we bought a house here in January.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good thing you got it before COVID, huh?
I
It was a
know.
little crazy.
Yeah, things got a little wonky there, and I mean they're still crazy. The virtual schooling is tough to handle. It's all been just a disaster.
Yeah. What age are your kids?
I've got a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old.
Well, those are good ages at least. They're
Yeah, they're a good age to handle something like this, but they're both really they want that human interaction.
Oh yeah.
I think they want to talk to other kids. I think they're tired of dealing with me.
Yeah.
And my wife has been very lucky. Her job has allowed her to work from home,
Good.
so she hasn't missed any time. But that's left parenting duties the old dad here. And boy, let me tell you, being a stay-at-home dad is much harder than I ever thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it,
We have a daughter that's a teacher, fourth grade teacher, and so it's been interesting watching her and the struggle on her side too, trying to make it meaningful for these kids, and she misses the kids and all that too. So,
now,
but yeah, we have a college age son too, and he's still here. He goes to CSU, but his classes are all remote, so
now,
it's trying to balance everybody being home and kind of in each other's space at this point. So yeah, I
uh,
get
that's got to be the worst, especially with a
it.
college age kid. Mercy
uh,
sakes.
yeah, he's pretty. He pretty much thinks he runs the house. It's his house, so it's it's interesting dynamics.
Yeah. Uh, quick question: are you seeing any
Mhm.
video of me on your end?
No, your picture's frozen
Frozen.
on
Okay.
my screen. Yeah.
Let's see. Leanne's here, so let's go ahead and Bring her in. Something's up with my camera. I'm going to work on it for just a second while we talk here. Leanne, you there?
I am here.
All right. Thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
So how exciting is city council, huh?
Well, and actually tonight they have the vaping issue and budget on the agenda. So it actually was an interesting discussion.
Vaping issue.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that a little bit. I haven't heard anything about that.
It's a study session. They're talking about potentially banning all flavored tobacco products to not be sold in the city limits.
Wasn't there something federally already done about that?
It goes into effect tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I don't know all the details. Maryland might have that. So yeah, there was a little discussion on that too, but not the details of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think our local youth advisory commission got involved and they kind of got their teeth into this one. This is an issue they could support, and so they were looking for city council support of it. I'm not sure they were getting it though.
No.
That's such an interesting thing to latch onto as far as a topic or an issue. It just seems kind of strange to me. Like there's so many other things going on. I wouldn't think the vaping would be the biggest concern.
Well, 43% of youth in Larimer County have already tried it.
43%?
Yes. So it's considered the Surgeon General in 2018 declared it a national epidemic. So
Interesting.
43% is a lot when you're talking middle school and high school kids.
Yeah, and that's I was talking to Marilyn before you joined in. Part of the reason why we left Southern Ohio was, similar issues, drug exposure, things like that. The rates there were fairly high too, but it wasn't just vape pens; it was meth, heroin, stuff like that. So
Sure.
we decided to move somewhere it's a little less prevalent, I guess.
Yeah, it's a tough issue. I mean, and I think our youth advisory commission comes from a place of the flavored products are the ones that are hooking the youth in the first place. They go for the flavor, and then the nicotine keeps it, coming back. So all those fun flavors, bubblegum, cherry, grape, that's kind of what is drawing them in. So.
Well, it's interesting. That'll be neat to see how that one shakes out. So you two are with Loveland Parks and Rec.
Yes, we are.
All right. Have you guys lived in Colorado your whole lives?
No.
I have.
Oh, you're a native.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Colorado in the Littleton area. I actually have grandparents that are here before the turn of the century, so I have roots deep here historically. So my mom was actually born in Loveland, so that's kind of a neat fact.
Interesting. It seems like the people that have been born and raised here, they do have deep roots. So it's generational.
Mm-hmm.
At least the ones I've talked to, anyway.
Yeah, it's a good place to be.
Yeah. So Leanne, you're a transplant like me. Where'd you come from?
Well, I was born and raised in Nebraska, fifth generation family farm, and then I moved away for grad school actually, and coached college basketball for a little while, and then met my husband who was a Navy fighter pilot, and so then he just moved me all over the country, and then we decided finally post Navy life after he retired and to settle in Colorado. So
nice. You said you played college basketball?
I played and coached.
Okay,
Yep.
Where'd you play? Where'd you coach?
I played at Hastings College along with Marilyn. Marilyn, we actually both graduated a different decade we graduated from, but we both graduated from Hastings College, go Broncos. And then I coached at the University of Central Missouri and the University of North Florida.
Oh, awesome. How was that? Did you enjoy coaching more than playing?
Well, it's hard to beat playing. I mean, your teammates and the experience, but coaching, your livelihood depends on 18 to 22-year-olds. So we could be called a little bit crazy in some ways. But it was super fun to connect with youth and be kind of that. There's such a mold. I mean, college students are looking for just that next step. They're not at home anymore. They're kind of in transition, and they're just so open. And so it was really fun to connect with them and mentor them. And I really enjoyed the competitive side, but ultimately college coaching is a really tough environment. Number one, to be a Navy spouse and move, and two, to have a family, because you're on the road so much, whether you're recruiting or games or whatever. So,
Sure.
but it was super fun when I was young and single.
So now that you've settled down in the Parks and Rec, Leanne, what's your title for Parks and Rec?
I am the recreation manager, so all the fun, well, Marilyn has some fun too, but I typically say all the fun happens in my division. So.
Okay, and Marilyn, what's your position?
And I'm the Open Lands and Trails Manager, and I've been with the Parks and Rec Department for 30 years. And so I've really seen this department come from very small population of around 30,000 to our almost 80,000 population now, and really grow and mature as a department.
Wow. So do you guys get out and enjoy all the wonderfulness that's around us now? I assume you do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we certainly take it to heart. I think Leanne and I both love being out there. Leanne's a runner, and so she's out there always reporting things on the trails and what's going on. My family always laughs that I can't sit still, and I'm always checking out some trail or open lands or event or the fit court or something. I love being outside and enjoying what it is we offer. I truly believe it, and it's been a great place to raise my family.
Yeah, there's not too many careers where you can live it, right? I mean, a lot of people kind of have to separate work and life, and ours really, because it's recreation and open lands and parks and trails, it can really kind of connect with our lives. And so we can enjoy the things that our people create and maintain and stuff. And that's really a neat place to be.
Yeah, Leanne, are you one of those crazy people that goes up in the mountains and runs those trails?
Yes. So yes, I actually have a trail half marathon Saturday. It's called the Black Squirrel, and it's at Laurie State Park, and it only climbs 1,500 feet over 4 miles, and then descends straight down for 6. So, it's a little flat for a couple miles in there too, relative. So yes, I do, but I mostly run road, but I do run some trails, and yes, that's an intense group of people that do that kind of training.
Yeah, they are, because I'll tell you, I went out hunting this weekend, and I was up on top of Crozier Mountain, and I had a couple people run past me on my way back down, and I don't know how they do it.
There are some phenomenal runners, especially in Colorado in general, but in particular North Carolina, kind of Boulder up. I mean, just amazing athletes and runners in this community that they make me feel super slow. And I kind of think of myself as kind of fast, but they make me feel slow. So.
Well, I consider myself kind of fat. So whenever I see those people run past me, I feel really bad. And it's not just young people. I mean, a lot of middle-aged to older people are in excellent health.
Yes.
And that's when I feel really bad. So Marilyn, you said you've been with Parks and Rec for 30-some years. Do you know a little bit of the history about the Parks and Rec department around Loveland?
Well, I do. Leanne did a good job. Actually, one of my first tasks when I started with the department was to create a historical narrative. I started in 1990 with the department, and so we went back and kind of created this historical narrative. The department was established in 1953 with what they called the council, the Parks Commission Board, and they were responsible to care, manage, and control city parks and grounds. So it started surely with parks, and then they established a recreation coordinating committee back in 1953. In 64 was the actual formation of the Parks and Rec department. And in 1968, there were several things that happened in the community with acquiring the municipal golf course and several of our kind of older parks during that period. And then in the 70s, there were several improvements to the North Lake. We called it the North Lake Recreation Area. And that was kind of the formation of our first public community park, North Lake Park. And an interesting fact was that back in 1972, our budget was 52,000 for the Parks and Rec department. And today, for just the general fund component of our department, it's over $5 million.
Whoa.
That's,
You know,
that's just parks. That doesn't
Yeah.
include recreation. Recreation is another about 4.5 million. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Okay.
yeah, and you know, the first park system plan, which is kind of our vision for what was going on in Parks and Rec in Loveland, was back in 1979. And then in 1984, there was a citizens tax to vote in a new 1% tax that would pay for the Civic Center and Barnes Park Complex, some of the parks improvements. And that was kind of the start of, in the late 80s, of what we know is the Parks and Rec department that we have today, that has things like a rec center, number of parks. There was actually the dedicated facilities to program and to have these activities in Loveland. Before, it was a little haphazardly. It was in schools and community buildings and wherever they could find a little corner or spot. And with that tax and the vote of the people, basically, it formed the importance of how we see Parks and Rec in Loveland as an amenity asset, and that it's not just another thing that we offer, but it really is an essential service that citizens are demanding here in Loveland.
So why do you think it's essential? Is it just because of getting people outside, getting people together as a family unit? What makes you guys essential?
Do you want to address that one, Leanne?
Do you want me to take this one? I'll take a little bit of I'll take a little bit of your wording, but we were working on the some of this stuff earlier, because that's a question we get asked a lot is, you know, what makes Parks and Rec essential? Because sometimes when people think about essential, they think about police, fire, and roads. And believe me, all of those are super important. But think of a community that you would drive into and all you saw was roads and you had police and fire. And then you didn't have any green spaces. You didn't have places to recreate. You know, that probably wouldn't be too much of a fun community. And so, you know, we provide that community hub. When we kind of stretch across every part of the community, from babies to, you know, our seniors. And we kind of talk about it's birth to grave, that we touch the community. And, you know, we have fitness and wellness and swimming pools, sports, and for youth and adults. We provide 30 parks, 32 open lands areas. We allow just for the community to be together and socialize. You know, we have programs for our seniors that, you know, we have seniors that come to the Community Recreation and Senior Center on a daily basis, not during COVID, but pre-COVID, that just would come and have coffee together. And that's a social connection that we create that they wouldn't have if we didn't create it. And so we're essential to people's mental, physical, and emotional well-being. We don't just, you know, touch the physical side. It's that mental and emotional health that we really, you know, bring that whole piece together for people. And we're really proud of that. And I can't imagine what Loveland would look like with all the beautiful spaces and the programs and art and culture and everything that, you know, Parks and Recreation and then our culture and libraries areas create for this community. We are the connections.
Certainly the parks and the open spaces were one of the driving factors that led us here. The area is beautiful. There's so much to do. I can walk to a handful of parks. I mean, everything's so close to my house. And that's not something I'm used to. And where we moved from rural Southern Ohio, you had to drive a half hour to get to anywhere. And even that was, you know, it was kind of a pitiful situation because they didn't, you know, put that high of a value on parks, recreation, outdoor recreation. So it's been very refreshing to be somewhere like this where it's such a big deal.
Yeah, you look back at our citizen surveys, if you look at our historical narrative, which Meryl and I were re-looking at today, you know, parks and trails and all that have always been number one or number two on that citizen survey every year, and they still have consistently stayed in that area. So this community has always truly valued parks and recreation, and they want that in their community. And that's really what makes Loveland an amazing place to live, work, and play, is because you can do it all here, and we get to provide that.
And speaking of value, just looking at the budget thing, just thinking about that, I know it's over a 50-year period, but that's a gigantic increase in funds. What's driven that? Just expansion of open spaces and more places to take care of?
I think it's an expansion of population. It's an expansion of what the citizen come to expect, what they wanted us to provide. For a great example, back then we had about 15 parks, and now we have 30 parks. Open lands was not even really on the radar until around 2000. So there was all kinds of land around us, but we weren't mindfully purchasing that and setting it aside for conservation. And that's all part of what we do today. We have softball leagues and youth leagues and more parks and locations to provide those type of activities. It's a very active group of population here in northern Colorado. People don't just sit in front of their TVs and never go out, because our weather allows such great diversity. We have, we didn't even have much skateboarding in the early years of the department, where now we have skate parks and skate amenities. We didn't really have pickleball or some of the other things, inline skating, things that there's been a change in sports and what they expect us to provide and have. And that's all under the same umbrella of the Parks and Rec department.
Yeah,
and I think I'm sorry. Sorry, Zach. Can I piggyback on that?
Go ahead.
And I think it also just speaks to the value that if we're going to build it, we're an agency that says if we're going to build it, we're going to maintain and operate it at a very high level for our citizens, because that's what they expect. And not a lot of municipalities or park and recreation districts, that's one thing in our industry that we're ahead of that curve, that we put a lot of money aside that says we're going to replace things and before they become this just maintenance nightmare or they're run down. So when you look at the amenities that we have in parks and recreation, that we are replacing them to keep them at a very high level that our community expects. And so our city manager down has always valued that. And that is a rare thing in government, to say, hey, we're not going to just build it. We're going to make sure that we maintain it and keep it at a very high level. And that's something that we're really fortunate to have, that type of funding.
And that kind of that leads into what I was going to ask. How would you guys describe the citizens here in Loveland, like the community, and how do you guys shape and mold the attitudes and culture of the community?
With regards to budget?
Not budget, just fostering all of these outdoor programs and making sure that you hold the high standards for the people to enjoy. Obviously people around here enjoy getting outside. How does Parks and Rec help maintain that attitude?
Well, I think we help maintain that by providing quality programs and facilities. A perfect example is like vandalism in the community. If you see tagging and graffiti on things, then you have this feeling of low quality and fear, and it's not a safe place to be, and it's kind of cruddy. But that's not what you see when you go around to our facilities. You see clean walls, you see trash picked up. We take good care of what we have, and we promote it. We want people out there using it, so we're out there using it. And when you drive by, you see a healthy, active community doing and participating, because they're great places to participate at. And so I think that's sort of how we set the bar high. We have high expectations on what it is that we're providing and how we're maintaining it. And I think that attitude goes through citizens. They'll tell us the minute something isn't meeting that standard. They come let us know, because that's what they've come to expect. And communications are very, very good. They give us calls and they give us emails and we respond. So I think that's a lot of ways in which we're responding to their expectation.
Yeah, and we have staff that just is 100%, 110% just dedicated to providing that level of service. It's not just us at the manager level. It truly is our staffs that make all this happen, that they care so much about what they provide to this community, and they know what a value that this community places on it, that they hold themselves to that standard to make sure that the product that they're delivering is the best product out there. And so we're really blessed in this community to have such great staff in Parks and Rec.
Do you find that since your high quality of standards and your high quality of taking care of these places, do the citizens take a proactive approach and do things on their own without getting hold of Parks and Rec, if they can?
Yeah, I think so. I think we expect that backwards. One of the questions was, what kind of value in do you get from volunteers, and how many volunteer activities, and how do people volunteer? And we have over 17,000 hours of volunteer service each year in our department, and that equates to something like I can't remember what the number was, $432,000 in value, something to that effect. And that's how we get citizens involved, volunteerism and stewardship. The time that a mom and a little kid helps build a trail, they own that trail, and they want that trail to always be nice, and they want to go out there and hike it. They help pick trash up in their neighborhood and along our areas. We have a very active volunteer program, and people get involved in coaching their kids. Those are all ways in which we expand our dollars, and we get community engagement and participation. And that's very important to what we do, and the image and how we affect the community. When we're out picking up trash, when we're out improving the river corridor, when we're out building new trails in somebody's neighborhood, those are all things that help them engage, and they want to keep them nice. They want those amenities great for their individual neighborhood. And so the other opportunity from a funding standpoint that we didn't talk about is grants. We get millions of dollars of grants each year and actively pursue those. And there's a lot of those opportunities for healthier opportunities in the outdoors, building trails, transportation alternatives to have different biking and non-motorized mechanisms to get people where they want to go. And so those are all ways in which we expand and get citizens involved and stretch our dollars.
You want to piggyback on that, Leanne, or are you good?
I'm good. She said it so well.
Yeah. So I was looking at the Parks and Rec website. You guys have, I guess, a pillar system, the 3 pillars of Parks and Recreation. Leanne, you want to talk about those a little bit?
Sure. We align ourselves with the National Park and Recreation Association. National Recreation and Park Association, NRPA. And so those 3, I'm going to just read from them so I don't say the wrongs, but they're basically health and wellness, social equity, and conservation. And so that's a national directive from our national association, and that's what we have done. And so if you want me to talk about each of those, I sure can.
Yeah, well, it'd be worth talking about them just a little bit.
Okay. Well, obviously health and wellness is probably the one that sticks out the most in our worlds, and conservation. So health and wellness is basically all those different fitness opportunities, or those, when I talked about the emotional and mental health and physical health of people, that we run the gamut on that, whether it's aquatics or just having a trail for someone to walk on. Those are the type of things that we provide. And then conservation, that's really Maryland's world, and our parks, but really our open lands and trails area really focuses on conservation, making sure that we preserve space that's so valuable, that not only for water, for wildlife habitats, and then just for people to enjoy. But that's something that we highly value, and Marilyn might want to speak more about that, because that's really her level of expertise. And then social equity is really about making sure that everything that we do, and it's hard at everything we do, but our goal is that everything we do be accessible to anyone. And that means no matter what your socioeconomic status is, that what we provide you can participate in. And so when you talked about you could walk to so many parks. Well, that is something that's in our master plan. That's something that we focus on, is we want everyone to be able to walk to a park, because everyone should be able to enjoy their local park. You shouldn't have to have a car to get to a park. And so that's something that we've really focused on, especially over Maryland's 30 years here. And we've done a pretty darn good job that we almost have a park within a mile of every single citizen in the city of Loveland. And we're still working on that, and that'll be something that we continue to focus on. So when we talk about social equity, that's the type of pieces that we're talking about, is that people have access to us, and that if they don't have access, that we go to them. So an example of that would be our mobile recreation trailer. There's many, youth in our community that don't have the means to, number one, pay for a program. So we do have scholarships that allow them to pay their program. But let's say they can't even get to our program because it's clear over at the Chilson, and they live on the northwest side of town. And so they don't have the means, nor can they take their bike clear across town. Maybe they're too little. So we take the mobile recreation trailer to those communities and engage with those kids. And so, that's why when we talk about things like we want to build more community rec centers in the community, one over on the northwest side of town, is because we program out of there, and it makes more kids have access and more adults to have access to programs that we do that otherwise couldn't do because they're clear across town at the Chilson. So those are the type of things that we're always looking at. And we do master plans every about 8 to 10 years to make sure that we're still lining up with what our citizens want. But I'm going to let Marilyn piggyback on the conservation.
Okay.
Well, and I think the social equity, to be honest, that's the one that really was near and dear to my heart when we were really concentrating and taking this whole campaign locally, because it really is about making it available. A health club can have what a health club has, but a health club doesn't offer the same things as a community rec center that allows these kids to come in, that teaches kids swim lessons, that has dinners for the seniors at lunchtime, that provides trails to everybody, that doesn't cost a penny with regards to that opportunity, that gives an open lands. They can come out and bird watch, or go do an environmental program where they can do bird watching, or see owl cams, which doesn't cost them a penny, that they go pay an entrance. So that's really important. And then the conservation, obviously there's a lot of not only scientific reasons for conservation with air and water quality and everything that we do, and wildlife corridors, but there's the whole social aspect of everything that we do in conservation, and sharing that with the community and educating the community to have a future stewards for us. Today's young kids and what we're teaching them and how to preserve and what to do out there, they're the leaders of the future, and they're the ones that are going to protect that for generations to come. And so there's the whole educational piece that's really important to what we do on the conservation side. And I think that National Parks and Rec really hit the nail with the 3 pillars, because I think it really does. Everything we do falls under those pillars.
Absolutely. The mobile rec trailer, is that on a schedule? Does that make regular rounds at certain communities?
It does. It took a break this summer due to COVID. It wasn't something that we could bring out into the community. But yes, we targeted different. The first year we went to a lot of different parks to see, where kids would engage with us. And then our coordinator that's in charge of that area kind of did some data off that summer and went, all right, we need to go to where, we try to piggyback with where the free meals in the summer are being served. So we go, the kids that are going to get the free meals, we're bringing that rec trailer there so that they can come and get food and be engaged with games and fun and stuff. And then we also target a couple of kind of low-income housing neighborhoods to go and engage with those folks. And they're also getting food at those places too. So we really try to partner, whether it's with the school district or Larimer County in terms of their mobile food trucks, and being in the same areas, so that we're not only engaging with those kids from the health and wellness, but they're also getting that meal from those other agencies.
What kind of activities are on that rec trailer?
Oh, that was some of the most fun stuff I've ever bought. I was just like, here's my budget. I'm going to buy all the fun to throw in this trailer. Anything from hula hoops to jump ropes to every ball that you can imagine. We have these we have a little obstacle course. We have these bouncy balls that kids can sit on and bounce, and they can jump through obstacle courses. We have volleyball nets, cornhole. We have some like games. I can't remember I don't know if it's Tetris or one of those type of games, but I'm trying to think of all the different stuff. If you name something, we probably have it in that trailer. It's just a trailer of fun. So, and we also take it to local events. And so, you know, we'll take our cornhole out and, you know, adults will play on it or whatever. So it's really a place for us to just not only engage with youth, but engage with our community while having fun doing it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I've been asked to touch on a little bit by some of the people that listen to my podcast is how they can find family-friendly events in Parks and Rec. What are, you know, Marilyn, you mentioned like the owl, the bird watching and stuff like that. What other kind of programs are there that people can get involved in that are low cost or free?
Yeah, well, one of the things I wanted to mention is we have a brochure that we put out 3 or 4 times a year. It's called Leisure Times, and it's just or what was called Leisure Times, it's the activity brochure. And so that's online, and then it's printed sometimes, but because of budget cuts and other things, it's mostly online, so they can find that on the website. For open lands and trails, we have a site called Offero, Offero, which is the French word for volunteer. And it's both a program volunteer site and a participation site. So everything that we offer in open lands and trails is on that site. If it's an opportunity to volunteer, any of those stewardship, the trail building, things I talked about, but all the bird walks, the kids programming, those are all on there. But there's a variety of different things. Every month we offer a bird walk at different natural areas that we have. That's all free. Actually, everything on an open lands is free. That's paid for from our budget, which comes from a % of the county sales tax for open space. And so everything that you're going to see in open lands and trails is free. We have things called dog days in June. We have people bring their dog, walk around the trail. There's vendors. And we try to do good stewardship and activities for dogs and natural areas. There's fishing events, fishing clinics, kind of a derby that we have. There's a senior fishing derby. So there's a variety of different things. The owl cams that I talked about are actually online. They're on our website. And so we had an owl cam, a barn owl cam, and a kestrel cam. And this year we added a osprey cam. And those are all in our open lands, and they all have cameras that show during the nesting season when the eggs are laid and everything that's happening. And, you know, we do it, we pay for the Wi-Fi and get some of it donated, and it's as an educational experience so that parents can help educate what's going on in the nest. We have raptor monitors that do reports of all the different nests in town and where they're at and kind of the progress of what we have going on there. We have wildlife cams, and we post those pictures on our website. So there's a variety of different things that we have, and those will all be posted on that Offero site. We always put that out. And then we have a pretty active social media on Facebook, and any of those events, we always try to give promos to activities that are going on a week or 2 before the event.
And I'm sure COVID's probably messed with virtually all your guys' summer, fall, and winter planning, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. It probably more for Leanne than us. Because of the outdoors, we've actually seen up to 5 times our normal use on open lands and trails.
Wow.
It's been crazy. We've been inundated, but it's someplace that we feel, we talk about essential services, people could go. They weren't prohibited from going for walks and enjoying nature. And so our use was way up, and we did some things. We did virtual tours. So we opened our new Prairie Ridge Trail. We had kind of an activity card that families could take, and they could go along the trail and find the different birds that we say are out on site and do some different things virtually. We offered some of our bird walks with social distancing, and then we offered some of our preschool programs that were self-guided. We provided the info card, and they would just go to the site and follow the flag. So we had to be creative, but we were able to offer some of our programs. And then I'll let Leanne speak more, because it really had a larger impact on those things that were offered indoors in her world.
Yeah, for sure. So some of the stuff that we do in the summer on a normal summer, I would call it, we do the movies in the park. So those are usually at North Lake. Sometimes we do them at Happy and other parks, Barn Sports Complex, but that's something that obviously has been put on hold. Most of the things I'll tell you is probably on hold due to COVID. But free activities for families in terms of the movies in the park, the farmers market is something that my division puts on that's every Sunday that actually has gone. And so that's a place for people to come and get fresh produce and shop with local vendors, especially our farmers. And that's seen as an essential service under the governor's orders. So that's actually been happening since June. The other essential things that, that we do is a preschool program. It's accredited licensed preschool and a summer day camp program. And when we say essential, Maryland saw that 5 times increase in open lands and trails. And then we saw kind of a shift to go with what the community needed. So our summer day camp program should have ended a few weeks ago, but because school went 100% virtual, all those families that we serve suddenly went, how am I going to have dual working families or single families? And my kids, they need me during the day and I can't work and help my kids with school. So we opened up the school age, basically extension of summer day camp. So we actually have a school set up in our senior center because our senior center is closed due to COVID. So we just completely took our senior center and turned it into basically a youth center where we have pods set up for kids to come and virtually learn in the morning. And then we engage with them in activities in the afternoon once they're done. We have homework time and stuff, but then they can swim or we can take them over to the library, all these different things. So and get them outside and engage with each other. So I really feel like, Parks and Recreation is, we didn't touch on this earlier, but another reason we're essential is during these times when the community needs us most, we show up. And it might be showing up in a different way than we were showing up, in January, but we adapt and we go, okay, this is what the community needs and this is what we're going to provide. And so, we provide things at a really low cost. If you took your child to the community rec center, it's $4.25 to drop off your kid and they can go swim, they can go play basketball, they can hang out with their friends, they can go play racquetball, they can run around the track, they can lift weights. I mean, there's just so many things for them to do for $4.25 a day. And if you buy them a pass, it's even cheaper per day. Same with families. They're very, for what you get, it's a very low cost. And then we also have that scholarship opportunity and our low income fees so that we make sure that people that can't afford to be there, even at $4.25, that we are able to supplement that so that they can be there. So if you see a school day out, a normal school year, we are just inundated with youth because parents are still working on those days when kids are in school and they drop them off at our facility and it's a safe place for them. It's a safe place for them to engage with their friends and it, promotes health and wellness. So, having a really sound Parks and Recreation in your community makes your community a really great place. And we're really proud to be a part of that.
Absolutely. So what about Halloween? We going to be doing any trick-or-treating?
We will not be putting on any Halloween per se trick-or-treating, but there is a scarecrow competition that's going to go on in town. And I think it's $50 for any business. And we're participating as the Chilson, and I know the library and some other places, that it's going to be the Scarecrow Walk. So families will be able to, for free, they'll have a map that is going to be put out by the Loveland Downtown Partnership, Downtown Development Authority, and it'll be a map of all these decorated scarecrows. And so families will be able to take this map and go see all the cool scarecrows that all the businesses have created. And I highly recommend people come to the Chilson and see ours because it's going to be spectacular.
Is it going to be the best one? Is it going to win?
Of course it's going to be the best one.
And how about, I know it's kind of far off, but Christmas, do you guys have any Christmas plans?
Well, we partner a lot on a lot of these holidays with other city departments and also the Chamber of Commerce, Visit Loveland, and then the Centerra and Loveland Downtown Partnership. And I know that sounds weird, but we all kind of partner together on a lot of this stuff. And so Winter Wonder Lights and through Visit Loveland, it'll be a form of that. So you'll still see the lights. There's still some things to work out in terms of how we're going to turn on the lights downtown. We probably won't see a big, huge gathering, around the tree and have that big festival down there. but we will have some sort of maybe another walking map or driving map parade, but we are working on those details because it looks like we won't be able to have our normal type Christmas celebrations.
And we do have the Namaqua Star up on one of our open lands, which is the star on the foothills that you see every year. We work with a holiday council to allow the lease to light that up on the open lands.
That'll be the first year I get to see that. We weren't up here for that last year.
It's really neat.
When you look west in town, you see the Namaqua Star up on the hill during the holiday season.
Namaqua, what's the significance to that word? It's
actually an Indian word, but there was a Fort Namaqua off Namaqua Road in West Loveland. But it's the hillside right as you get past the Mariana Butte Golf Course. It's part of the Hogback, and we own 180 acres of open lands along that first ridge line, and hope to have a trail system there in the 2 to 5 year period.
So in that 2 to 5 year period, that kind of lends into one of my last questions. What are some of the future projects that Parks and Rec has coming down the pipeline?
Well, I'm going to start because Marilyn always has a lot of projects. Her team just blows everyone out of the water with how fast and furious that they do so many amazing things. Recreations, we just built the fitness court here in the last year, and that was a partnership with UC Health. The next things on our horizon is really looking at our master plan and our recreation feasibility study, and really kind of looking at still the goal of building a new community rec center here in the next 5 to 10 years. We would hoped it would have been 2 to 5, but that's not going to happen. And really looking at more outdoor aquatic opportunities. That's something we see time and time again, is that we're deficient in terms of providing it, something people really want. Winona Pool was built 44 years ago. And so it is an old facility. It's a great facility and we're going to keep it, but we really need, that's the only public outdoor pool in the community of Loveland, and we're 80,000 people. So that's something we're really looking at to probably expand into in the next 2 to 5 years. And that would potentially be on the property that we own up by Mahaffey Park, to expand out that way in terms of providing more outdoor aquatic opportunities.
I guess my word would be connect, connect, connect. That if you hear us and you see our master plan, it's all about connectivity. We really want to engage the community, and we want to connect everything to everything. So we want open lands next to parks that has a trail that gets them in. We want people to be able to come in with a bike lane from their house, like Leanne said, to get to a park or an open lands or the trail connectivity. And so some of the things in that realm are the Big Thompson River Envisioning Project. And so we're part of a team with Big Thompson Coalition. Last year, we did significant river restoration, largely damaged from the 13 flood, but all the way from the winery in West Loveland, all the way to Wilson Avenue. More than $4 million of river restoration along there. We're still doing several restoration projects and planning with volunteers. But we plan to envision the next step, the next project. And that's basically taking everything from Wilson Avenue all the way out to I-25. And how do we get rid of the old concrete in the river corridor? How do we offer tubing opportunities when the water levels allow to be able to have safe input and output in the river corridor, improve the fishery, those kind of things in the river. So we're working with a bigger group to kind of do some of those projects. Regional trails is a really hot button for us right now. We did 2 regional trails to Fort Collins over the last few years, the Front Range Trail and then also the Longview Trail. And now we have new trails coming. The next one is the Centerra Trail that will go from Denver Avenue along the south end of Boyd Lake Avenue and get out to the Centerra Trail system at Boyd Lake Avenue. And so this will be at about 1.5 miles, a new trail, and it'll be paved trail that will connect out to the Centerra area for the first time, keep bikers off of Highway 34. There really isn't a good way to go east-west through that corridor, and this trail will open opportunity. There's also low-income housing right in that area. It'll allow them to get to shopping and provide some connectivities. The next one is what we're calling the Big Thompson East River Corridor, and that's taking the trail system and loop in town and taking it east along the Big Thompson River and get out all the way out to I-25 and adjoin to Johnstown. That one will be a multi-year project in which we'll kind of take a little leaps all the way from 287 until we ultimately get to I-25. And along that leap is a project called Willow Bend Natural Area and Park, right by the Boys and Girls Club and New Vision School. We purchased about 80 acres of land a few years ago. Part of the land goes down to the river corridor. There's a pond down there. We're putting a fishing dock and opportunities for a lot of youth activity and engagement in the community. The top part of that property will be a neighborhood park that will have Loveland's first accessible playground, all accessible playground, which is another commitment to make sure that we're serving all citizens in the community. And then we have another trail system, which we call the South Front Range Trail System, and that will allow a connection from South Loveland out to Berthoud. And so we have a property called Eagle Vista Natural Area, and it's 180 acres that will allow us the opportunity to allow this regional trail to get us over to the Berthoud area. And then within town, in our trail loop, we have two sections of our trail loop that have long been hard to make that final connection. The first one is at 57th Street across the railroad tracks. And we have two of the sides virtually complete. We have to get across the railroad corridor there. And so that project will actually be bid out in the next month, and construction will start late October, early November. And we'll make that final connection once we get all the railroad right-of-way approvals. And then the second section of the rec trail, we have in soft surface, surfacing between Namaqua and Wilson. We have a soft surface section along the Big Barnes Ditch. After years and years of negotiation, we've got approvals from the ditch company and part of our grant funding to make that a paved connection, and that will close our final 21 miles of paved trail in our recreation loop. So those are all big initiatives, and like Leanne said, an update of our master plan. We did a great job in 2014. The master plan we created had all sorts of things, expanding some neighborhood parks, a lot of trails, a lot of open lands, a lot of the connectivity things I'm talking about. And quite honestly, those have been achieved. It's really been a success. And now we need to set the map forward for the next 10 years and figure out those items that we really want to concentrate and work on.
So I'm going to piggyback on that. When we start our master plan process, which will start here in 2021, we're going to want the community to engage with us even more than they're now and tell us what they want. Do you want more outdoor aquatics? Do you want another community rec center? Do you want more, even more trail connections? And that's what Marilyn wants to hear, because she's just going to keep connecting trails. But no, seriously, we want to hear from our community to say, what more do you want? Do you want more pickleball courts? Because we know they do, but we need to hear from them. And that sets our map, because we take our citizen input very seriously. That sets our map for the next 10 plus years. And as Marilyn said, when we did that in 14, we take that seriously. That's what the citizens said. That's what we're going to do. And so that's what we're asking again is, hey, we've done this. Now tell us again what you want, and we're going to achieve that for you. So it's really important that our citizens tell us exactly what they want Loveland to be in the next 10 years in terms of parks and recreation. And believe me, our staff will make that happen because we care that much about what our citizens tell us.
So I was a little bit overwhelmed there with Marilyn for a second. You weren't kidding. She's fast and furious. Is she?
Yeah, they're amazing.
They're amazing. Is she the Leslie Knope of the office?
I think we have a few Leslie Nopes, but yes, Marilyn would be one of them. Is
it really like that? Is Parks and Rec really, do you have a mustache guy running around that's all mean and stuff? And
we did. The old Parks and Rec director might have been a little bit like Ron, but no, I do think we have several Leslie Nopes that just strong. I think that's the passion that we've both been trying to talk about, that we really believe what we're doing, and we kind of are like Leslie that way. We really want things to happen, and that's a positive thing. But we do have some crazy stories. So I think it is a little bit like that. Some things you would not think of that come out of left field in those years.
If we told the stories, we can't make that stuff up, right? So that there's a lot of truth in that show that we see happen on a daily basis, or we'll have something happen. We're like, this is totally a Park and Rec episode. So it's just, and that's what's fun about our field. It really is got those really fun, crazy moments where you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So yeah, I think every agency has some Leslies and Rons running around, but it's they both get things done. So,
well, it's good to know that they cut that story from a little bit of whole fabric, I guess.
Yeah.
Leanne, Marilyn, is there anything else you'd like to say before we kind of finish up?
Hey, thanks for having us. This is really fun. We like talking about Loveland Parks and Rec. One more thing to add, I think is really important for our community to hear, and it just speaks to the level of professionalism and excellence that our staff brings on a daily basis, is we went to get our national accreditation. And so there's a accreditation board nationally, and there's I think 300 agencies nationwide, and there's tens of thousands of park and rec agencies. Only about 300 and some have their national accreditation. And we actually completed our accreditation in April, and we'll find out in October, but we should receive our national accreditation. And that's really really a lot of hard work, especially that our Molly Elder, who works in our department as administrative and business manager, she spent a lot of time on that. There's hundreds of standards that we had to achieve, and it was a collective group effort, but Molly really led the charge, and it's something for the community to really be proud of, that our agency went to that level to get that accreditation.
Hey, congratulations, guys. That's really good.
Yeah, I guess the only thing that I say is that we truly are approachable. When you say email us, when you say contact us, we mean it. So if you have listeners out there that, they want to find out, they want to know how to find out stuff, they want questions of what's happening, we're very much here for the community, and we'd love to hear your ideas and questions and input, and hope that you get involved when we do the master plan process.
Well, I can attest to the reachability, because I didn't expect anybody to contact me. I was very surprised. So what's the best way for them to get information about Parks and Rec? Just go to the website, which is?
Well, they just changed it, but you can still go cityofloveland.org, but now we have different website handles that you can put in, because we're updating it. And then you can follow us on Facebook. We post quite a bit there too, or just find our emails and ask us what's going on, and we're happy to send an email back, or give us a call. We pick up our phones too.
Excellent.
It used to be a joke if you had a question about a city service, call the Parks and Rec department. Somebody answered the phone, so it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Ladies, thanks for coming on and talking to me. I know it's been great for me, especially since I'm a new citizen. So I learned a little bit about what you guys do and what's around us. That's good for me.
Awesome, Zach. Thanks for having us.
Have a good night.